Hey ratbags, it's Jade. Today taking a look at the Enshrouded build competition they had running over the last week or so and the controversy that's been caused by who or what actually won. A lot of people are unhappy with the way the competition was run, and although this might only affect a few curators, it's important to keep them happy since they've been promoting and heavily playing the game, and especially when it's to do with building. It seems like King Games, the makers of Enshrouded, really didn't do their due diligence in making sure this competition was fair and maybe done in the right way. Reason this is big news because the prize was €15,000 for first prize. More cash prizes for runners up, and yeah, it doesn't look like things went down the way they was meant to. So this competition had to be an original idea, not based on IP or some pre-existing thing. So no Eiffel Tower builds, no Dumbledore's Tower or any Minas Tirith. It had to be an original idea. Everyone had a week to do it, and the idea was that yeah, first prize would get €15,000 and cash prizes all the way up to 14th or 15th place. But there's been plenty of accusations since that the judging process wasn't very fair, lots of builds were missed out, and the way that it was judged by a YouTuber they got involved or content creator just wasn't great. Is this worthy of a news video? Maybe, because I love builders. I have always enjoyed that side of a game, watching people do stuff. In fact, over the years covering Ark, Conan Exiles and others, it's the building videos that I watch over and over again, rather than Let's Plays or guides. Hence why I'm friends with so many builders, even though I don't really do building myself. I knew so many that took part that reached out privately to say they were being upset or just the way things were handled wasn't right, and I had a deep dive myself and can clearly see there's some things they should learn, King Games, the makers of Enshrouded, if they do something like this again. So the crux of it is they partnered up King Games with a Spanish Latin content creator, El Rubio, and he's pretty big, he's massive in fact, 40 million subscribers on YouTube, 15 million nearly on Twitch. And at first glance, I thought he was just really into the game and maybe he was offering up the prize money because someone at that level is probably doing all right for themselves. But no, it does look like this has been something King Games have started themselves, and maybe they're trying to reach out to more of an audience or community that maybe hasn't bought into Enshrouded as much, the Spanish community. It had a clear set of rules. You couldn't enter with other players, you had to uniquely enter it on your own, although other players could help you build. Peoples with builds already could enter, so some people were disgruntled that was the case, but it was in the rules, so you knew you might be competing against players that already had great builds for months on end. I kind of like that aspect because it means the people dedicated to the game that didn't know there was a competition have now got a chance of winning something, compared to people that might be just jumping on the bandwagon a little bit and only entering recently to win the money. Nothing wrong with that, but it still was nice that they did allow previous builds already made. Although this did give other people an advantage for sure. But there's no creative mode in Enshrouded, and definitely some creators have gone and used cheat engines or some sort of mods to get them resources, and others have literally grinded for hours upon hours, putting in over 100 hours in space of a week just to try and enter a build. So all is good, that's a lot of money. I did question at the time when it got announced why they didn't do maybe a charity drive with this, a charity stream. They could have showcased the builds, done some giveaways, got people invested, and there's so much they could have done more rather than just make it all about winning one prize. But you presume the marketeers at King Games know what they're doing, or do they? The competition ended at 8 PM. Within a couple of hours, they already announced the top 25 finalists, and these 25 finalists were the ones that were meant to be showcased in streams with El Rubio. Now, some submissions were done at the last minute, and you have to question why creators were absolutely leaving it or risking putting something in so last minute, but you would have assumed King Games would have given 24 hours to really go through them. So there's no way in 2 hours they've gone and been able to see over 200 build submissions. Admittedly, some of the submissions weren't just by video, a lot of them were by screenshots. And you had to have your save ready to be taught. It had to be uploaded as part of the requirements so that El Rubio could go and take a look. So that's the first thing that kind of stinks. It does seem like their marketeers, who may not even been playing Enshrouded that much or knew too much about the game, were the ones that whittled it down from the hundreds to the 25 in such a short space of time. It's definitely questionable whether or not they actually got through a lot of submissions. So many submissions from the community that were absolutely amazing apparently didn't even make it to that. Now, it's all subjective. Everyone's going to vote differently on what they think looks good or what isn't. But for sure, if you're doing it within 2 hours of a closing line, you're running the risk of being accused of not taking it seriously and viewing everyone. And then 25 finalists were judged by Rubio and the official Discord community via emotes, even though everything had to be uploaded to Twitter. Pictures or the videos, and that meant some people having to buy a Twitter subscription to upload longer video, which is all really rather odd. Then you've got YouTube just sitting there going, hey, this is where the home of videos normally is. But hey ho, again, they're probably trying to reach out with more social marketing. ENSHROUDED's done amazingly well, sold over 2 million copies. They've got some money floating around. But I do question why they partnered up with a content creator that seemingly didn't have a plan or wasn't spoken to about exactly how to judge these submissions, and kind of just ended up doing it a bit busted. Reportedly, as I've gone and checked with a bunch of creators, a lot of the builds were judged just by a few screenshots in Discord. He left it up to his Discord community to vote via emote which ones were good. And then he went and toured some, but not all, of the last submissions. And even then, when touring some of them, they didn't realise that actually they were looking at like the storage hut for a lot of the resources, because people had been doing it legit and not the actual build itself. So Rubio's not to blame as much here, unless he is the one that did organise this competition. But I think I really have got it under my mind now that ENSHROUDED must have been behind this, because Rubio only had 5 hours in the game apparently by the time he'd actually checked out this, and he hasn't done any content on the game since. So clearly a marketing move just to get some Spanish or Latin markets involved more. But it is a lack of professionalism from King Games not to do their due diligence, or at least work with Rubio in making sure that the process was fair and actually considered. I skimmed through some of his Twitch streams to showcase, and absolutely the one that won is fantastic build. I'm not disputing that maybe the top 3 deserved it, but according to a lot of people in the community, there was a ton of builds that should have made the last 25 at least, and they just weren't included. So when you boil it all down, not giving enough time to review every submission, being unclear or not very good about whether or not people can use cheat engines, judgment via emotes in the official Discord probably wasn't the best idea. There's often too much tribalism with viewers watching or supporting their favourite creators, not ensuring that every single one of the finalists got an actual proper showcase, and after all their hard work, just having it diminished to being one segment of a multi-game stream, I don't know, it feels pretty rubbish. A lot of creators felt disappointed, even without all the shenanigans or knowing how it was all done, they still felt like their builds could have been shown off a bit better. So what can King Games do now? Well, for a start, apologise and say they're going to do better in the next competition, and next time it happens, they'll have hopefully something up their sleeves, like having it all on a fresh game file to make sure there's no definitely upper hand, even if, like I said, I don't mind that as much, or just make sure it coincides with some sort of creative mode. Don't make the prizes so reliant on cash. Do what other games are currently doing. Games like Core Keeper recently just announced a very similar kind of competition where you build your own scene and you're going to get your name in the credits and a permanent marker of some kind in the game. And clearly make sure you've got plenty of time to judge all of the actual entries properly, and people that actually really love the game, got lots of hours in it, or developers who've made it are the ones that judge the process. Or even get fellow builders to do it. Maybe they could do a rating system where every builder that takes part gets to vote on each other's builds. If I was King Games now, I'd be doing my best to showcase all of the entries that got entered, even up into the hundreds in some way, shape or form. Make it a thread on the forum, post them all in Discord even more. Share all 25 of the entries that made it to the final on Twitter. And yeah, maybe you can even include all 25 entries in some way, shape or form, recognising them in-game for the future, since there's so many updates to come. Not hating on ENSHROUDED, I think ENSHROUDED's a great game. It's going to be even better with content and new updates. But with a focus on building being such a key part of the game, you need to treat your building community better and not just as a marketing afterthought. That's just my opinion. If you're happy with everything that went on, let me know. I'm sure the first prize winner isn't going to complain, or second or third winning that much money. But a fair amount of people reached out to me, and I did see obviously some strange goings-ons with this myself. By all means, correct a few things if I've got anything wrong, King Games. Happy to show any side that you might want to present. But yeah, that's where it's looking from the outside when you just had a quick look in or was watching on the night. I'll be back for ENSHROUDED content when an update arrives. Until then, ratbags, have a good one.